Hey everyone, this is Tom, also known as Scary Spikes, and welcome to another Star Citizen video. In today's video, we'll be talking all about the Aegis Hammerhead, the Corvette class gunship that you simply must own. But before we get started, a very quick and special thank you to RustyHook84. Thank you so much, Rusty, for being a member of our community, being extremely helpful, and also very generous in the streams and over on YouTube as well. Rusty is one of our VIP Gold contributors, and he's been so for a while, and he's also one of the first ever VIP Gold members that we have had on YouTube, one of our channel members. So Rusty, again, thank you very much for your generosity and for being a VIP Gold contributor. Also, before we get started, make sure that you join us on stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays over on Twitch at 8 p.m. Eastern, and join our Discord community. We have lots of amazing people who are looking to meet, play, and chat with you. Links for those can be found in the description below. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video if you found it helpful, subscribe if you're new, and ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future. Well, without further ado, let's get started with this video. The Aegis Dynamics Hammerhead is a subcapital Corvette class warship that is in a league of its own, especially considering that there are very few ships in the game that are around the same size and, of course, around the same capabilities as the Hammerhead can muster. It is an absolutely mammoth, gargantuan warship that is meant for multi-crew. You shouldn't fly the ship on your own, although you can. It's not going to be anywhere near as effective as if you have a full crew. We're going to start by taking a full tour around this monstrosity, followed by an interior tour, and then my recommendations on how to outfit it properly for the best possible results in almost any given situation. So we'll start off at the back of the ship here, and obviously I can notice a few small things right away, especially this. Now, I'm not sure if this is something that's done on purpose, considering that the ship is definitely right side up at this time, but given that, you know, most of the time we're spending time in space, it's probably not a big deal. The very first thing that you'll notice when you see this ship is 6 of these bad boys. We have 2 on the port side, 2 on the starboard side, 1 on the aft, and 1 on the top of the ship. These are massive size 5 turrets which have size 4 weapons in them. There are 4 size 4 CF447 laser repeaters in each by default, and to be honest, they're really good. You can replace them with other weapons, but at the moment the C788s are bugged and give your crew members a crime stat for some strange reason. I'm not sure if this is something that will be fixed in 3.13.1, but I'm hoping that it is. That being said, there's a number of them, and we'll go over them a little bit in more detail when we take the interior tour. Looking at the outsides of the ship, we can see our very first starboard side turret here in the middle of the ship, followed by the other starboard side turret here at the front of the ship. And very interestingly enough, on the outside of the front or forward section of the ship, we can see the ship-to-station docking collar, which will be utilized in a future patch for ship-to-station docking, as well as the bridge. Moving around the other side of the ship here, this is now the port side. We can see that we have the front port side turret, followed by the other landing gear, of which there are 3 in total, and of course the other port side turret down the middle of the ship. Rounding out to the back of the ship where we can see the engines as well as the aft turret as well. Now, of course, we can't see the turret from the top because it is on the very top of the ship. But this is a really interesting landing configuration, and most ships that have 3 landing gear have 2 landing gear in the back and 1 in the front. But this seems to be 1 in the back and 2 in the front. There's also this hole right down the middle of the ship, but we've got some windows that we can use to look outside, and I think it actually looks kind of cool. So there's a few different ingress points on the ship. The first is going to be the sort of forward-facing elevators, and there's one here, which is the A door. Very nice. And on the other side of the ship here, the starboard side of the ship, we have the B door. Nice. So given the fact that there is a very large crew requirement for this ship, having 2 elevators as their main ingress points for the ship definitely does make sense. Although there is another ingress point here, and that is the ramp at the back. You can simply hold F to enter your personal inner thought menu and click, and that should open the door, although you might want to stand clear because this is a pretty hefty door and a pretty hefty ramp. We're going to go ahead and use this ramp to get into the ship, and then we'll take a tour of the ship starting from the rear to the front of the ship. There's lots of space here to store a vehicle, and in the latest 3.13 update there are a lot of ships that are fixed that have had issues with their ramps, and that includes the Hammerhead as well as the 600 Eyes, and of course the Constellation line of ships as well. So you should be able to put something in here without the vehicle having a total and complete seizure, which is, you know, a good thing. First of all, we're going to have a look at the very back end of the ship where there's a little staircase, and this is going to lead us up to the aft turret. Now this turret goes down and lowers into position, but it looks really cool, and sort of like the private area here. Looks like we may actually have a door, and I do believe that there is something that closes here once you go inside, but I'm not 100% sure, so let me know if you know better in the comments below. Of course, this is the engine room as well, so we have what looks like to be engines here on the side, and we have an engineer panel up there, which we'll definitely get to, along with a door to a hidden hallway area for the crew rest. Moving towards the center area here, we have a little bit of storage for some space suits here. So this will be useful for anyone looking to exit the ship using the cargo ramp. And of course, we also have the elevator. This elevator will take us up to the engineering station. But again, we'll take a look at this a little bit later in the video once we have a look at the upstairs section accessible through this door here. For now, let's go back downstairs and explore the rest of the main level of the ship. So we'll make our way up towards the forward section of the ship, starting in the port side hallway here. And the very first door that we'll have is to the crew rest area. This is also accessible through a door in the starboard side, and we also have 2 washrooms here accessible to the crew. The first one is right here. And this has 2 closing shower rooms that the crew can use to get cleaned up, as well as a sink and a mirror, and some storage space for some small toiletries and other things. Then we have a number of bunks here. We have 4 bunks on either side, making a total of 8 bunks altogether. And on the other side, we have another washroom. And in this washroom, we find that we have another sink, storage space for toiletries, and 2 toilet stalls, which can be accessed through these doors here. Okay, so leaving the crew rest area, we're going to go back towards the forward side of the ship, and we're going to be taking the port side hallway. The next stop is going to be here, which is on our left-hand side, and this is an engineering station with an engineer's station here, and a few different types of spaceship doodads available here. Moving on, we reach the first major intersection here, and we'll check this out on our way back, but this is the cross-beam hallway that goes and joins the middle of the ship, right in between where the port side and starboard side turret meet. And there's also the captain's quarters as well as an elevator to another level here. But again, we'll go through that as soon as we go back down the other hallway, the starboard side hallway. Here on the left-hand side, we can see a hallway that leads to the very first turret that we're going to see. And this is going to be the middle section, port side turret on the left side of the ship, alongside some escape pods over here. And then moving forward, we have our first elevator, or the A door. This is now open as we've opened it just before, but when we make the ship flight ready, all of these doors should close automatically. These are the windows that I was talking about earlier. And that is the hole in the ship that I was talking about earlier, with a little bit of space in between. And moving more forward into the front area of the ship, there is another turret here on the port side on the forward section of the ship. This door here, the DCO2 door, will take you to the ready room, which has a number of suit storage lockers. And it's an airlock as well, which leads to the ship-to-station docking collar, which will be accessible in a future patch. Just opposite the docking collar, we have this, which is basically the bridge. You can jump down, but you should just call the elevator over here on the left-hand side. This elevator will come up, and then you can take the elevator down, which will take you to this door, which will take you to the bridge. The bridge can be occupied by a pilot and co-pilot, and there's plenty of viewing distance and viewing space all around here with all these glass panels. Unfortunately, it is a bit of a weird viewing port in the sense that your bridge is not on the top of the ship, but on the bottom of the ship under the docking collar. So it definitely takes a little bit of time to get used to, but given that you really only have access to missiles as a pilot or co-pilot, you don't really have much to worry about, as your gunners will be doing most of the seeing and probably most of the killing too. Let's take the elevator back up and take a tour of the rest of the ship. Okay, so we're going to now walk down the port side, or rather the starboard side tunnel. But before we do that, we have our very first starboard side turret here available on the forward section of the ship. I actually really like the lighting on the inside of the ship before it's turned on. I think it looks really cool, and it definitely gives the ship a really lived-in feeling. It makes it feel like a warship. There's nothing really pretty around here. There's nothing homey. There's nothing to make you feel really particularly comfortable. And it just looks like a warship, which is great. So this is the B door. Again, this will close as soon as we become flight ready. We'll move down the other part of the starboard side tunnel here. Now this is going to lead us to the starboard side turret in the center of the ship. And now we can have a look at what's in the center hallway here. So the first door on our right here is going to take us to the captain's quarters. This has an office, a bedroom, and a washroom. Don't go into this black void unless you want to get sucked out of your ship. Okay, so leaving the captain's quarters, we'll continue down the middle section of the hallway here, and on the left-hand side, we'll notice that we have another door. Unfortunately, there seems to be a bug where the seat is actually missing, but if you get close enough to it, you'll get this option to enter the turret, which will take you up into the top turret of the ship. The one other area that we missed is this little elevator here, which really looks kind of unassuming, and if you're not looking for it, you can miss it. So we'll go ahead and call the elevator, as the default position of the elevator is up. So again, without it being here, it's kind of difficult to spot, and you don't really see it unless you're looking for it. This is going to take us to the upper deck of the ship. And that's where we have the mess hall, as well as access to the engineering station at the aft end of the ship. We go through the door here, and we are led into this nice hallway, very similar to what we see at the bottom. And then, of course, there we have the crew relaxation area, or the mess hall. You're able to eat some food here. There's a number of screens, as well as some appliances, and there are also some storage areas back here with some shelving and some additional space to store things. There is also a window here, which is really kind of cool. Finally, if we turn left out of the mess hall, we've got this final door here at the end of the hall. If we get close enough, the proximity door will open, and here we are again at the engineering station that we saw a little bit earlier. There's an engineering panel here, a nice glass porthole here that we can look out of, and several screens for the engineer to use. Okay, so for the last stage of the video here, let's have a look at my recommendations for the ship. Of course, if you'd like to see my recommendations alongside the stock loadout, I have included links to the Urkel.games loadouts in the description below. Go ahead and press F1 to get yourself into your mobiGlas and then go into your vehicle loadout manager. Just note that your ship should be in the same station. You should be able to call it up in the same station. So if it is busted up, or if you've exploded it somewhere, you will need to claim it at the station that you're currently at in order to be able to edit it. Otherwise, it will not be editable. As the Gladius is here, you'll notice that because you'll see this little red padlock here. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, I will link a video in the top right hand corner of the screen. Make sure to go ahead and watch that before you watch this part, as it will really kind of explain the basics of ship components, as well as basically upgrading your ship. Go ahead and click on the Hammerhead here, and we have quite a few things here to go through. But the first, we're going to skip the MISC column here. We're going to go straight to propulsion. For propulsion, it's honestly an easy pick. I'm going to go with the TS2. It is a really, really fast military-grade QT drive on the Hammerhead here. It comes with this one right here, which is absolute total hot garbage, and I would not recommend it to anyone. It literally takes forever to get from Hurston to Crusader, or pretty much anywhere else. So if you have a limited budget, I would definitely recommend getting this, because at least the stronghold shields are pretty decent, and the stock power plant and coolers are okay too for what you're going to be doing with this thing. This is really, really a meaningful upgrade, especially if you're doing a lot of travel in between subsystems. So the TS2 will be my choice for Quantum Drive. Moving on to systems, these ones are going to be pretty easy, as you've probably seen if you've seen my Carrick video, again linked in the top right hand corner of the screen. For size 3 coolers, I recommend the Blizzards. The Blizzards are absolutely fantastic. They do a great job. They are reliable. They cool your components very quickly. And to be honest, with the laser weapons on here, you're not going to be dealing with too much overheating unless your crew is basically constantly firing, especially in the staggered mode. But honestly, these things can keep up quite well, and they do a very good job. So I would recommend going with the Blizzards. And for the detailed figures, make sure again to check the description below and the links for my recommendations on Urkel. I'll give you all the details that you need to know in terms of how much they cool and so on, and similar information for the other components as well. The power plants, as you guessed it already, I am in absolutely love the JS series of power plants, and the JS 500 is the size 3 variant, the 400 is the size 2 variant, and the 300 is the size 1 variant. And of course, for this ship, we will need 2 size 3s. So we're going to go with the JS 500 again. It's an incredibly good power plant. We do have some other choices. I do believe that this one here, the Super Drive, is actually the one that comes stock. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, you can always reference the link to Urkel Games in the description. But in my opinion, the JS series of power plants never let me down, ever, not a single one. So I'm happy to use these. Of course, you may choose different ones for different applications, but honestly, for what it's worth, I think these are the best power plants in the game, and I would not choose anything else for any other ship, let alone this big Hammerhead here. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with the JS series. Now for the shields, we do have a couple of options, but honestly, they're not particularly viable, and let me explain. If you've seen my bounty hunting video, you'll know that smaller ships benefit from having the FR series of ships, or shields rather, or any other shield that regens very quickly. The reason for that is because smaller ships have the capacity and have the ability to evade fire, at least briefly, and be able to regenerate their shields very quickly. And so for that reason, a shield that has a fast regenerating basically shield pool is able to do a good job on a ship that is very maneuverable. The opposite is true on a larger ship. Now this thing basically flies like a giant brick. Even in the dark depths of space, it's honestly really difficult to move this thing around and get it to do exactly what you want when you want. And for that reason, you want to have a parapet. These don't regenerate nearly as quickly as the FR86s, but they have a monstrous amount of shield hit points. So much so that you could literally sit outside of SPK and you could be getting shot by all the turrets there, and they will not actually be able to do any damage to you because your shields will basically hold all the fire as you're just chilling in your ship getting shot by literally all the cannons at the station. It's actually a phenomenal shield. It does a great job. It has a massive shield pool, and again, Because this thing is not able to dodge fire, you need to be able to take fire like a boss, and that is something that the parapet is very, very capable of doing. Let's move on to the weaponry on the ship, and honestly, this one is going to be really, really simple. Don't change a thing. Everything on the ship is really, really good. Basically, each of these different turrets here have size 4 CF447 laser repeaters. So you've got 2 turrets here at the front of the ship, one on the port, one on the starboard side. You have 3 in the central area of the ship, one at the very top, and again, one on the port, one on the starboard side. And lastly, you have one on the aft side at the bottom of the ship as well. Now, each of these, so there's basically 6 turrets there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then you've got 4 guns each, size 4 CF447 laser repeaters. So 24 guns, and this thing, fully crewed, is absolutely the meanest warship you're ever going to see, at least until we have some of the big capital fatties coming in later on at some point, maybe down the road, maybe next year or even a little bit later. But that being said, I digress. I think that the CF447 Rhino laser repeaters are actually perfect for this ship. You can go ahead and fire them in staggered mode, which, if you don't know, once you're inside of one of these turrets, you can press V on your keyboard or whatever you happen to have it bound to on your HOTAS or HOSAS system, and it'll fire each gun independently, sort of in a pattern, so that you're constantly putting fire down range. And it is just a spectacle to behold, having all of these fire at the same time with a full crew. It is absolutely fantastic. So I would not recommend changing these, especially since in patch 3.13, and as far as I know, even in 3.13.1, which at the point of filming this video is currently in PTU, basically those C788s give you a crime stat, or they give your crew a crime stat when you shoot with them, irrespective of who you shoot at. And so the laser repeaters are great, plus you never have to worry about running out of ammo. So definitely keep these, and you know, you can change them out once the C788 thing is fixed, because ballistic weapons do great amounts of damage. One of the other things you have to realize is that, you know, especially if you're doing PvP and stuff like that, which the Hammerhead is not ideal for, unfortunately, at least right now. You know, a lot of people might be using the Sucheron shields, because those two are fixed in 3.13 and they will absorb now 100% of ballistic fire. So if you're switching to the 788s, that could sort of be an issue for you, considering the fact that, you know, you're not going to really get through to the hull until the shields are completely down. So just something to keep in mind. With regards to the missile racks here, you do definitely have a choice. They are size 5 racks, and again, if you don't know what this is, I'll link to another video that explains all of these different racks and what they mean, because these numbers actually do mean something. But basically, these are all going to hold size 3 missiles for a total of 32. That's right, you heard it correctly, 32 size 3 missiles. It is an absurd number, and up until this patch, it has been absolutely ridiculously difficult to change these, because every time you did, you basically had to scroll all the way down. So for example, if we want to change this to an arrestor, this would actually reset itself and we'd have to scroll all the way down, and it was just a complete pain in the butt. But I digress. Again, here, what I would recommend is keep these as Thunderbolts. I do believe they come with arrestors out of the factory, but I would change these to Thunderbolts because they do a pretty good amount of damage. In fact, they do quite a bit more damage than the arrestors. I think they take only a split second longer to lock on, which is not a huge difference. And honestly, their range is absolutely phenomenal. I've seen them hit from, you know, 5 to 6 kilometers plus. Also, they do happen to explode in a close proximity, so even if you don't hit dead on, you are going to be doing some damage. So these are definitely great, and you've got 32 of them in the ship here. If you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave me a like to let me know that you've enjoyed it and found it helpful. And also make sure to subscribe if you're new and ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future. Thank you so very much for watching, and really appreciate that you made it until the end of the video. I hope you like the new style, and please let me know what you think in the comments below, as well as feel free to post your own links if you've got your own builds for the Hammerhead. That'll do it for me. Until next time, we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.